Today, my dear sewing friends, let's go ahead and dip our toes into upcycling. Hopefully fun and hopefully interesting. I'm filming this before I've actually done the upcycle, so just like you, I have no idea what's coming up. Now, usually or traditionally, when it comes to thrift flips, you would go thrifting and then you would flip those clothes into something that you would wear. But in my case, I literally just had to go through my closet. Here I have, a full box, enough stuff to create a full series of upcycling. Like these fun but funky pants that I had for probably close to a decade and I haven't worn them for past 5 years. Or for example, this dress that I know for certain I will never wear again. But for today, I actually have 3 really cute tops that at one point I thought they were cute. I made them, 2 of them, and one of them is ready to wear, and it was actually a gift from my mom. I like them, but there's just something a little missing. So I really want to remake them into something that I would feel really comfortable in, that I would feel my best and would wear with joy. And that's what I'm on a mission to do today. My first candidate for this upcycle is this little number right over here. It's a summer top, or it doesn't have to be summer, it can be any season. So it's a top slash blouse that I made quite a few years back, and I love it. The only thing that I don't love about it is that it's sleeveless. So I've noticed after myself that I am more inclined to wear tops or blouses if they do have a sleeve. Even if it's like this tiny little itty bitty little cap sleeve, still, I'm more inclined to wear it. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing right now. Adding a sleeve, or figuring out how to add a sleeve to this. Now, I went through my box of scrap fabric and it turns out that I do have this little piece of the same fabric left over from the times that I was sewing that blouse, and that's great, but it does not guarantee that it will be enough to cut 2 sleeves out of. As you can see, this fabric scrap isn't really that big, so we shall see. Now, while I was going through the fabric scrap basket, I also found a muslin that I used for my neoprene jacket a couple of months ago. And, the things that you find in your fabric scrap baskets, right? So the point is that muslin had a full length sleeve, and I thought, you know what, let me just undo the basting and then I will pin it into this blouse just to see if it fits, because then I don't have to draft it from scratch, because this is going to be a cap sleeve anyway, so I don't have to have the whole sleeve and it doesn't have to fit perfectly. So I thought, a shortcut. All right, let's take a look over here. So it feels like it's getting there, but this little puck over here is a little bit too much. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and slide the back a little bit in. I'm just gonna do that this way without adjusting anything else. And I also think I'm gonna do the curve over here a little bit just to give it a nicer shape. That always helps on short cap sleeve like sleeves like this one. Okay, so I know that right now it looks like a gobbledygook, but I am convinced. So right now I have to just tidy this up and copy that to create a little pattern piece, so that way I can calculate the best arrangement on the fabric and cut it out, so that way this top can finally have some sleeves. About you, but I'm feeling 22. I don't know why my brain got intercepted by Taylor Swift there, but what I'm thinking in the moment is that at times fixing something or upcycling something is even more challenging than creating something from scratch. I'm not sure how you guys feel about it, but it certainly feels like that in the moment. So the first step for me was to cut out the pattern of the sleeves out of the fabric and finish the hem, because this is not going to be a full sleeve, it's just going to be a cap sleeve. And by the way, all of the tutorials for the cap sleeves and all of the other sleeves and how to hem them and everything will be in the info box below, and there's a ton of tutorials on my channel how to do a lot of sewing things, so definitely take a look. But after that step probably came the most painful one of all, and that is unpicking the bias tape from the armholes of the top that I was adding the sleeves to. And I'm saying painful because every stitch that I was undoing, I thought to myself, it's so much faster to sew it. It's so much faster to sew it. But anyway, after I did unpick that, and the reason why I did unpick it is because I wanted to preserve as much of that shoulder as I could, because it was already a little bit far up over here. So that was definitely a must step. So after I did that was the final step of actually attaching the sleeve and the body of the top together. All right, it is actually ready. So right now, let's go ahead and try it on. Success! So here's how it looks when it's all done. Now, three things. Number one, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with cap sleeves. I like them because it's a tiny little sleeve, and then I don't like them because the tighter is the fit of the cap sleeve and the less is this little pucker right over here, the more it actually restricts the movement of your arm, and that's where I kind of really don't like them. So because this blouse is not a tight fit, I can kind of get away with a cap sleeve that doesn't really have too big of a pucker. Number two, remember how I wanted to curve in the hem of the sleeve a little bit, because that way cap sleeve looks and fits a little bit better? Well, I forgot that I'm dealing with stripes, so it was just a straight line on the hem. So it is what it is. Sometimes you have to go with the stripes. And number three, I tried to match the stripes, but since I was working with a limited amount of fabric, I didn't match them, but in the opposite direction, and that is totally fine with me. I am okay with that, and it looks good. They're matched on both sides, so it's a winner for me. This next one, ooh, that's a tricky one. I absolutely love the print. The print is just magical, and yeah, but everything else, you know, the fit is just it's not bad, to be honest, but I just don't like the style. It's a little bit too big, and I don't want it to be a tunic. I would rather have a top in this print. But the good part is, because it is a tunic and it is loose fitting, there should be enough fabric to make a completely new top out of it. By the way, this is the one that my mom gave to me. So this is ready to wear, and she gave this to me with that particular purpose. She said, here you go, I'm not gonna wear this anymore. If you want it, wear it. If not, use this as fabric for some other project. And I guess it's worth mentioning that she gave this to me 3 years ago. So haha, Mom, today is the day. I'm finally doing it. This top every other way possible, I decided, nah, I'm not gonna draft anything new. I think the print and the fabric needs to be the star of the show. So I decided to go with a simple boxy top pattern that I have drafted some time ago and used many times. It's a tried and true pattern, and I decided, let's go with it. So for that, I had to take a look and make sure that there's enough of the width of the fabric in order to accommodate the boxy top. And despite this tunic being quite big on me, there was barely enough fabric, and actually in order to fit the whole pattern, I had to undo the seams and really account for that itty bitty seam allowance as that extra bit of fabric. To leave or not to leave the original high-low curved hem? Good question. What would you do, guys? Would you leave the original hem, or would you adjust it for the style of the new top that you're going to be making out of this fabric? Let me know. So here I just took heat erasable pen and I drafted a new side seam right here on the fabric because, you know, there's that all extra width here, and I thought, why not? Let's just go ahead and make a slightly wider top, and I think it will look really nice in this super flowy fabric. And if anything, I can always go ahead and curve it in if I try it on during the assembly process and I feel that, oh, it's a little bit too wide. So I can always adjust that. At the end of the day, it's not a big deal. I just thought, let's go ahead and do that. Alright, let's take a look at this. Obviously, I'm wearing sweats because I'm in a process of sewing, but you can tell I'm definitely going to be wearing this for sure. It's simple, but simple does it, so definitely don't feel like, oh, it's too simple. I think the print really compensates for everything. And I did leave the hem, as you can see. I'm happy with this one. Alright, upcycle number 3, and here I feel that some of you might be a little bit disappointed. I'm not at all, but I think a lot of you might be like, oh, why didn't you do this or that or this? I'm telling you, I was looking at this top and I was looking at it and looking at it, and I really love the fabric, there's no doubt about that, but I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling of making anything out of it from myself. I wasn't feeling of turning this top into a skirt or into another top. So I went a completely different route. This is what I have in mind. This project is actually going to be a prototype for later on in September. So you might ask, what's going on in September? Well, in September of last year, there was this thing going on in the sewing community where we were sewing little dresses for Dress a Girl Around the World. It's a charity organization, and you can look more into that. Now, pockets are one of those things that are requested in those dresses, and sewing square pockets, patch pockets, was an absolute nightmare for myself. For one dress, that's totally fine, but when you're sewing X amount of dresses, that does become a little bit of a struggle, especially when you're a little bit pressed on time. So with this one, I thought, well, I have this top, I can make a dress for my little one and use that as a prototype for the dress for September. Last year, I made a really pretty one with a ruffle on the bottom, and this year I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I thought, let me play around with the idea of really fun pockets in the side seams. You know, upcycles are a little bit tricky because everyone, absolutely every single one, is going to be very unique, and it really just depends on what you're upcycling, how you're upcycling, and what you're turning it into. So it's really hard to account for any variations of the upcycles. You just really have to be creative, and you have to be, you know, a little bit courageous and just kind of go with it and see where it takes you. If you are a member of this channel, then you have an early access video on how to assemble these type of pockets and some additional tips on drafting those. So definitely, if you're a member, check out your perks. And here's the little dress. I think I love it more than the other two projects. It's just so darling, and sewing clothes for kids always, I don't know, it's just, there's just something so magical, so warm, and so, I don't know, it's just, doing something for the little ones in our lives is very special. So I'm really happy that the fit is good. I'm really happy that the pockets are in the right spot, and I'm definitely going to be using that as a prototype for Dress a Girl Around the World. That wasn't easy, but I'm happy that I did these upcycles. It was definitely a different type of sewing, a different type of creativity and problem solving, and a very refreshing one at that. So I truly hope that this inspired you, and maybe you will do an upcycle or two in the next couple of days or weeks. Thank you so much for watching. Check out this previous video. I truly hope that you will get inspired by it as well, and I'll see you there. All right. Bye!